us a gift like they did last night. Just we didn't even have to wait 24 hours for a rematch. OKC, Denver. This time, Denver coming out the big winners. They get 440 points in this one. Easy for me to say. Jalen Williams left this one in the second quarter with a hip problem. Jokic finished with 35, 18, and 8. Jamal Murray finished with 34. SGA 25. Lou Dort 26. But it was the offense of Denver last night, and Thunder didn't seem to have any real answers for it. That is the largest amount of points that has been scored against this team all season long, and the series now is at 2-2. Maybe we see them in the Western Conference Finals. I got to ask you, Lou, because it was such a quick turnaround, what did you see? Did something get solved? Did something get figured out? Or is this just a matter of, all right, it's a series tied at 2-2?
Yeah, I thought Denver played a great game. I thought they responded well to the way that they played on Sunday night. And they got a lot of great production from a lot of different guys. Now, they had 6 guys in double figures, nearly shot the ball 55% from the three-point line. And so that's the way that the Denver Nuggets play. They had a great night. Now, I don't know if that's sustainable. If they're going to rely on 6 guys to be in double figures to get over the hump of OKC, that's going to be a tough road to go. But if they can play well and they can play collectively like they did last night, they're going to be a tough out against anybody, especially when you have Russell Westbrook playing the way that he played. You had Christian Braun gave you a great game. Jamal Murray is starting to wake up going into this postseason. And obviously we know what type of season Jokic is having. They got a lot of different guys that's playing great for them. Michael Porter Jr. was probably one of the best players on the floor for the Denver Nuggets last night. So when you have so many guys collectively give you that, you're going to put yourself in a position to beat anybody, including OKC. Now, is that going to be a sustainable thing that they can do in a postseason against this same team? That's going to be something that we're going to have to pay attention and watch out for. But I think last night was a great sample size of that.
What do you think, Chandler?
Yeah, I think there's a reason that's the most points they've given up, because the Thunder's defense is really, really good, and they're versatile, and they have so much depth where they can throw different guys at you, especially on the wing and guards. But there's no answer for Jokic all across the NBA, but they threw different schemes at him. You're always going to see doubles. You're always going to see traps. You're always going to have some other guys beat you. So this is just a reminder to me that, look, like the Denver Nuggets, we're still here. We're not going anywhere, and it's going to be really, really hard to beat us 4 times in the playoffs, especially if we have Jamal Murray playing like bubble Jamal Murray, putting up 34 and being consistent. And like Lou mentioned, if they're getting the Browns of the world and the Watsons of the world, can the Julian Strawther, can these other rotational guys kind of step up and give you 8 to 14 points on any given night? Because you know what you're going to get from Jokic. You know you're going to get 25 and 5-ish from Jamal Murray. Can the Aaron Gordons be consistent? Can Michael Porter knock down shots at a high clip? And when they do, they're really, really good. Their offense is insane. The way they move the ball, the way they play. They have a 7-foot point guard running the show. There's no scheme to stop them. It's whether they're making shots or not, and whether they're going to dig in and get stops and play defense. That's always been their kryptonite. So they can score with anybody, and they're always going to be a tough out to beat them 4 times. But can they put the same effort on the defensive end as the offensive end?
Just on a programming note, Chandler, do we love the back-to-back, especially at this point in the season where we're getting close?
I don't hate it. I mean, it's cool. It's a quick little get back, and especially how it went the first night. I love that they split, and it kind of just shows you in a playoff setting where you play not back to back, but every other night, how can you adjust? What film do you watch that where you make adjustments and it works and it doesn't work, or someone else steps up? And obviously Jalen Williams went out last night. That's a huge blow for OKC. Hopefully it's not too far, but this was a great game from Denver. And then again, OKC, they're not going to win every single game. They're still growing. They're still developing. They're still extremely talented and the best team in the West. But I think a game like this just definitely puts them on notice that, okay, this isn't just going to be a cakewalk through the West.
Yeah, and Chandler, you remember this is the schedule that they started pandemic. They were trying to cut down travel, cut down going into different markets and guys moving around. So they started doing the back-to-back games in markets. I don't know how I feel about it. You know, usually when you play a team, you want a day or two to kind of regroup, go play somebody else. We'll see y'all in a couple of weeks. We'll see y'all in a month, and then we'll get back to it. I'm not sure how I feel about them playing back-to-back nights, especially with this matchup having so much attention on it with these 2 guys in the MVP race and these games being pivotal for the Denver Nuggets. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it was a great thing that they responded and were able to get another game out of this series and go through it 2-2 for the season.
Also, I kind of get that when it's sort of like a West team going east and then you want to kind of get it out of the way, but I'm no geography major. Oklahoma City to Denver is a relatively quick flight. So I kind of feel
Yeah.
like of all the matchups to have to do this for, maybe it didn't have to be this one, but I'm not complaining. In March to have sort of maybe a preview of what's to come is not a bad thing. Let's talk Jokic and Jamal Murray for 1 second. They did combine for 69 points. Nice. And they are having, at least Jamal Murray is having a career year. And this is after we thought we were going to rip up this entire team about 3 weeks into the season. So I want to know, as far as best guard, big combo, I know he's a 7-foot point guard, but are they the best at the moment, Chandler? And I don't know if you want suggestions.
I like the
for
look
others.
on Chandler's face. Go ahead,
I know.
Chandler.
I know.
We love doing these rankings.
We
and
love
these
lists.
Yeah, listen, give me Jamal Murray last night. Yeah, but I need that more consistent. Right now, I got to take probably Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson, two starting all-stars. When Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving healthy, they're going to be a pretty nasty big guard duo. If you consider Giannis a big, him and Dame, so they're up there.
Sure.
I mean, they're definitely up there, especially when Murray is playing at this level and he's aggressive. I don't like to sit him. I don't like to watch him kind of tiptoe into a game. I like them trying to get him going. I like him being super aggressive, getting downhill, putting him and Jokic in two-man game because you know they're going to try and eliminate Jokic. But problem is when you guard Jokic and you double team him, he then is such a good passer where I almost wouldn't even double Jokic. I would probably let him play straight up, make these other guys beat you because he's too good of a passer when you throw those coverages at him. But that's what makes them unique and that's what makes them really good. But yeah, I mean, when you get Jamal Murray at this level with the best player in the world, it's probably a top duo in the league.
Yeah, and I like Bronson and I like Cat as a duo. I love those guys as a duo. But how fast do we forget? These two guys won a championship together, you know, and the only reason we don't speak about them in the same breath as some of these other duos because of these some of these storylines, this is Jamal Murray. You know, we don't give him the credit. Sometimes he gets caught up in that catch weight, whether he's one of the big time guards or whether he's just being okay. Now he's having another career year. Still not an all-star, still overlooked and underrated, and that's the reason that we have these conversations. But again, this is a duo that's won a championship together. They're proven, and everybody else is still trying to get to the place that they are already.
Lou, I want to look ahead for the Thunder here. Obviously, we're all just sort of on pins and needles. We don't want any injuries, no major injuries between now and however long these teams last in the playoffs. So Jalen Williams having to leave this one after a hard fall is a bit of a hit. We know he's the great running mate for SGA, and I don't know who their third option is necessarily. I mean, maybe it changes from night to night. Do you get worried when you see something like this happen for this young team who already is starting to feel a little more pressure as the season ending comes closer?
Yeah. My worry about that is he was obviously the second best scoring person on that team. He's the defender. You know, him and Lou Dort are the two guys that go out there and set a tone for this team on the offensive end. And once you have somebody like that go out, not only do you lose the scoring, you lose one of the guys that's going to go out and take one of your marquee matchups. And if there's a team that have two guys that need to be matched up, you're going to put Dort on one. You're probably going to put Jalen on the other. That's where that's going to hurt. But other than that, this OKC team have shown you we're deep enough where guys go down and get injured. We're going to be okay, and we'll be able to survive this thing and continue to push forward. What's going to be interesting to see who's going to be that guy that step up in that role. You know, is it going to be Chet Holmgren or one of these other guys? Who's going to be the guy to step up and become that secondary guy that they're going to need on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, the obvious answer is Chet, right? I think he was kind of their second option before Jalen Williams really developed into this kind of all-star level player. And Jalen Williams is great. He's going to be unbelievable. He's going to have multiple all-stars coming his way. But this is what depth does for a team. When you lose a guy, next man up. And they have the Wiggins, the Wallace, the Isaiah Joes, Caruso, Dort, Kendrick Williams. That's just, they have so many guys that can provide a little bit of everything that can fill this hole when Jalen Williams is out, but they're not Jalen Williams. They're not going to have the ball at the end of the game with the MVP on the court, and you're still going to Jalen Williams because he's so good in the crunch and in the clutch time. So it'll hurt and it'll take some adjusting. If Lou Dort shoots the ball like he did last night, that helps. These guys got to hit shots. I even like playing through Hartenstein sometimes because he's so good at that pocket pass and the little floater. He can make plays as a facilitating big man, but it's still going to go through SGA, whether Jalen Williams is on the floor or not.
I mean, Lou Dort had 8 3-pointers last night. I don't know how often that's going to happen, but that's a hell of a night. Because Chet was only 8 points, 4 rebounds, so nothing crazy. This is all on the heels, by the way, of SGA and his 40-point night the evening before. So Jokic, of course, just goes out there and drops the 35, 18, and 8. And after this one, his coach had something to say about the MVP race.
If you didn't know that Nikola won 3 MVPs, and I put player A and player B on paper, and you had no idea that the guy who's averaging a triple-double, the guy who's top 3 in the 3 major statistical categories, things that no one's ever done, he wins the MVP 10 times out of 10. And if you don't think so, I think you guys are all full
Okay, Chad, I know how Lou feels. What do you think?
I like it. He's supposed to go to bat for his guy. I think the part of him saying his guy is in the top 3 in statistical categories, it's another guy that's going to be in that conversation right along with him that he's going head to head with. And again, SGA's team is in a position to finish this season as the number one. And so there isn't a argument about whether Nikola is worthy enough to be the MVP. If SGA isn't having the season that he's having individually and collectively and being able to impact winning the way that he is, like we kind of toe the line between whether this is a individual award or whether this is about winning. Well, it's about everything, and SGA has everything, and that's the part that gets tricky. That's going to be the caveat that may stop Nikola Jokic from getting his 4th MVP. Other than that, he's right. If you blank out these guys against player A and player B, you might have an argument. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Like that's not how this thing works. Like when he was doing these things and impacting winning, he was the runaway favorite. Now it's somebody else. And even though he still has these big numbers and he's averaging a triple-double and he's doing these things, there is still another level to get to that he's reached already. And this year hasn't been the year that he's reached it, but SGA has.
Yeah, and I think statistically is one that you could look at Giannis's stats right now and not look at the picture or the history or the team's record and be like, geez, that guy could also win MVP right now. Or you could look at LeBron James and look at the scenario and the circumstances of their team whose stats aren't as good, but his impact on that team is really big. That could matter. Or Donovan Mitchell is the best player on the best team. Should he be getting more votes? So I think when you look at the whole big picture of what you're voting for, it's stats, it's individual performances, but it's team success. And the Thunder have by far been the most consistent, best team in the Western Conference, arguably the NBA. They're 11 games up on the Denver Nuggets, which to me is the glaring stat. That's what's going to win it for SGA. If it was like 2 or 3 games off and the Nuggets had a chance to kind of go on this heater right now and catch them and maybe get the 1 seed, then I think Jokic has more of a case. Now, I'm still a firm believer that Jokic is the best player in the world. He's the best player in the MVP. It doesn't always mean he's going to win MVP. This MVP this year is SGA. I love what Malone said. I love that he's going to bat and going to war for his guy. I just think you have to look at the team's success. And when you have a team that's 11 games up, that's not just a couple. That is a big margin of a gap there from the best team in the West versus the second West team in the West. You ask anybody, any reporter, any analyst right now, who's the best team in the West? They're all going to say the Thunder. And the East, you might not say the Cavs. You might say the Celtics. You know what I mean? It's landslide the Thunder. So that, to me, is why SGA is the MVP.
Well, hold on. Because if you also ask same reporters, you have to put money on either the Thunder to come out of the West or the field. Do you think the answer is just as quick?
Absolutely.
No.
I do.
I don't either.
I do. Again, you just made the case. They're 11 games up. They were here last year and they got better from last year. What's changed is they've gotten better. They hadn't gotten worse. This is a team that's been on the bubble all season last year, and then they come back bigger and stronger and better than ever, and that's on the back of SGA. So if we having this conversation, I think so. Denver is just now getting going. Remember how this conversation started during the season? Like we were trying to figure out whether they were even going to be one of these teams that we mentioned to make a deep playoff run. Now that they've come out of this All-Star break and they're rolling. They were rolling right before the All-Star break. OKC has been rolling this entire time, including last year. So that's what I would make my case on. I would say absolutely yes.
All right, so we're
It's
back in
just-
studio next week. Friendly wager. I'm taking Lou up on this. We're
Here we
going.
go.
Yeah.
It's interesting because you give me the Celtics right now, I'll probably take the Celtics over the field, even though the Cavs are playing better and have a better record. If you give me the Thunder, I'd kind of be
Different
scared.
scenario. Different scenarios. Cleveland Cavaliers weren't on the bubble last year. They weren't even the team we were talking about. Different scenarios.
So if you told me right now you could take the Celtics or the Thunder or the field, who are you taking?
No, I would take the Celtics, but I think the difference in those scenarios are Cleveland Cavaliers are in year one of what OKC is in year two of. As far
They're
as
just happy to be their phase. They're just happy to be there.
Happy to be here.
You know what I'm saying? They're in year one of their expectation level. So if Cleveland gets knocked out this year, it's like, all right, okay. And then if they come back next year and they go 30-0 before they lose a game, that is a different standard that they've set, and our answers would be different. I think that's what's the difference between Boston and OKC.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. So we had another game, Lakers-Nets. And obviously we know LeBron wasn't in this one. Either was Jackson Hayes, Finney Smith, or Rui, by the way. Luka finished with 22, 12, and 12, 8 of 26.